Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's installment of the Renegade of Wrestling. I am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, J.J. Williams, here to bring you my thoughts on the independent wrestling scene. And I'm actually going to start with mainstream wrestling for a change, because I was privy to be at the Raw House show last Friday in L.A. at Staples Center. Y'all saw After the Bell yesterday went up with the live Q&A filmed from outside there. I'm actually going to touch on what happened inside the building. It was me, Statboy, and our good buddy Mikey, Mikey O'Shea, to some of you guys out there that know the SoCal indie scene, joined us for the show. We all had a great time. First thing that happened for the night was Brodus Clay making his funky return, if you will, to take on David Otunga. And I was a little bit surprised that they put Brodus over in this match. Not because, they've been pushing him on TV and that's all great, but they've also, in the last couple of weeks, really been giving David Otunga this huge push as Laurinaitis' assistant. So it surprised me just a little bit that they had him go ahead and job to Brodus, taking a little bit of that momentum away. Ryback, which y'all will remember as Skip Sheffield, former Nexus founding member, defeated A-Rai. Decent little match, more or less of a squash, trying to establish Ryback's dominance, which is not that dominant to me, I'm sorry. I'd prefer watching Brodus over Ryback. Eve came out and cut a huge heel promo, talking about how people use each other all the time and all that good stuff, and I think about half the crowd fell asleep. Until Beth Phoenix and Brie Bella came out and people actually, were into a Divas match. Because Beth Phoenix was out there. She defeated Nikki Bella to retain the title in what really was a decent little match, all things considering. I mean, the Bellas aren't exactly the best workers in the company, but Beth was able to hide Nikki's weaknesses and pull a really good match out of her. U.S. title was then on the line. Jack Swagger versus The Miz and R-Truth. R-Truth actually came out to the ring to What's Up, rapped along the lyrics and everything, just like he did on TV back in the day. It's kind of cool to see that live again. Miz came out, typical heel promo from The Miz, running down the Lakers and the Clippers and all that stuff. Jack Swagger got the victory, retained his title obviously, because as y'all saw on Raw, he came out with the belt, so no title change. And that leads us to what is quite possibly the main event segment of the night for me. Chris Jericho and his heel promo. Oh my God. Chris Jericho got so much heat with the crowd that people threw toilet paper at him. I don't know if the guy ended up getting ejected from the arena or what, but they spent about a good 5 minutes trying to find the dude before Chris would even continue talking. It was a glorious throwback to the old days where freaking like the NWO were getting sodas and beer bottles and stuff thrown at them. That's what it reminded me of. Then he went ahead to defeat Kofi Kingston in what felt like a really, really short match, but I guess it went close to 20 minutes at the end of the day. But it just felt short because the heel promo and everything took so long to get through that the match almost felt secondary at that point. Tag champions Primo and Epico retained their titles over the Cobra and Mason Ryan. Decent little match. I tried to get some good pictures throughout the whole night, and I really wanted to get some good pictures during this match, but people just kept getting in my way when it came to Rosa shaking her butt. I just could not get a solid picture of Rosa. Cena Kane last man standing. I'll bet you can't bet who won that match, huh? No surprise, Cena won. And then your main event was CM Punk over Dolph Ziggler with Jericho as the special enforcer, adding more fuel to their fire leading into WrestleMania. All in all, I haven't been to a house show since 2003, I want to say. I just have never really dug the house show scene, but this house show was really, really good. It felt like it could have been a solid TV episode, much better than what we actually saw on Raw. That brings me to where I was Saturday night. Battleground Pro Wrestling, baby. BPW presented Counterstrike and all of that Federation's glory. It was a real solid show. I'm not going to go match by match for this one. I am just going to give like the greatest hits, if you will. Tito Escondido versus Tyler Bateman. That match was sick. I don't know how else to really describe it. That match just was such a great technical back and forth match that I was very, very glad to have been there to be able to witness it. Tyler Bateman has impressed me now. It's the second time I've seen him perform live. Wild, the Epic Wild show, and then here. But Tyler is just impressing me every time I see him. His look reminds me of CM Punk a little bit. Let me see here. What do we have next? We had Levi Shapiro versus Famous B. Not really much to talk about during this match except watching my fiance's reaction when Levi Shapiro came out to a rock version of Hava Nagila. Like, she was rocking out in her seat. It was freaking hilarious just to watch. Let me see here. Chris Cadillac and B-Boy defeating Jeremy Yeager and Simon Lotto via pinfall. B-Boy and Cadillac are tentatively known as the Working Dead, while Lotto and Yeager are currently going by the name The Greater Good, which also had the debut of Mondo Vega, local guy out here, not real familiar with him. I'm hoping to learn more about him in the coming weeks and months so that I can properly report on him to y'all. But it was a really good, fast-paced, high-action match. Tag team titles. Silverheart Radicals versus the Knights. Again, hard-hitting, well fought out. Knights once again lost, but I think there's more going on here than what we're seeing. Sam Knight got on the microphone afterwards and issued a challenge to Sasha Derevko, who denied the challenge, at least at this point, to which I made the tweet earlier, and it was actually one of the best tweets of the night from either me or Jeff. I even get a hashtag Jeff Meacham approved on this one, basically saying that the Knights were telling Derevko to know Yavengi's role and shut Yavengi's mouth. Hashtag Knights bring it live, not via satellite.
Screw you, Dwayne.
Thank you, Jeff, for having to say something on the show.
You're welcome. So that was it. That was really going to be it.
Mikey O'Shea and Extreme Loco went to a 15-minute time limit draw.
Brutal.
Very, very good, brutal match. Ended up with both of them getting suspended. So we'll see what happens there and how long their suspension lasts. Joey Ryan versus Willie Mack for the West Coast Wrestling Company Heavyweight Championship. Joey had to cheat to win. Famous B came out at the end of the match and issued a challenge to Joey for a rematch from January. So that should be interesting next month. And then the main event was Rico Dynamite defending his title versus Brandon Gatson, which unfortunately I didn't pay as close attention to as I was hoping to, because the show was already running long, and we had to start packing everything up so that we could get out of there, because my fiance had to be to work at like 7 a.m. the next day, and it was already pushing midnight. So, that's what I've got for y'all this week. I apologize if I brushed through it rather quickly. I wanted to try to make sure I touched on everything and didn't go too long, considering a lot of y'all don't really care about the indie stuff. Be on the lookout tomorrow for a brand new RSI. Thursday is going to be the Fantasy Wrestling Company from me and Jeff. Clocks in at over an hour long. The longest episode ever to air thus far on the channel. It should be very, very interesting. I'm going to be curious to see what y'all have to say about that episode, because me and Jeff, we had fun filming it. We had fun doing the project. We even watched it back and both had fun like rewatching the finished product. So we're going to be very curious to see what you fans think about that episode once it goes up. For the whole Casa D18 Studios team, I'm the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams, and I will see you next time.